Good morning. This is Bob, the HIGHERWAY podcast. How are you, Craig? We've got Craig Galvin on today again. I think this is your third visit.
It is indeed. I'm trying to set a record.
Yeah, I think you've done quite a few podcasts as well. I believe you're actually doing podcasts for other people. I mean, what's that about? And actually, you need to send me the links to those, and I'll put them in my podcast so people can follow your travels around the internet. If you know what I
cool.
mean. Yeah, that'll be good. We were just before we came on air, before I hit that record button, we were talking about pain management, weren't we, and hypnosis. And it started with dogs. We started talking about dogs. So let's make this clear to everybody. If you like dogs, this is the place to come to, because we'll talk about dogs all day. However, we were talking about dogs and how we can never understand what sort of pain they're feeling, because we can't ask them, we can't take a history from them. We're talking about how wonderful vets were. And that led us on to pain management and how humans can deal with pain. And Craig, I believe you were citing an example of your wife who has a problem with her. Jen has a problem with her back. Really potentially quite nasty pathologies in her spine. And she's on she has been on a lot of drugs and used some of the strongest painkillers. You cited one of them, tramadol. There's others like Oromorph, which are horrendous things. But you, being a hypnotist, offered her a chance to do a bit of hypnosis. What happened?
In a nutshell, it was great for the relief that she's had. Now, I must say that I don't do this all the time with her or other people, for a reason that obviously Bob knows and we've covered, but I will kind of say it again anyway. But yeah, she was a bit kind of skeptical. And she was having a particularly bad evening one evening, and she's always been kind of, I don't want to try it. But it got to the point, none of her pain medication was kind of touching it. And it's always harder when it's somebody that you love, but you've got a certain set of skills, as is said in a great movie by Liam Neeson. But yeah, we went through this kind of process, and it was the first time, I think in about 9 years, that she'd ever had any sort of relief. I mean, proper relief, because the medication she takes will only decrease it. It never takes it away. And obviously, the specialist that we'd seen, he knew what I'd done. He says, I'm not against you doing it. He says, but you can't do it all the time. And the reason for that is with the pain management, we can do everything from analgesia to anesthesia. Okay, so we can take away the pain or reduce it, or we can make it so that you have an analgesic response, okay, or an anesthetic response. Anesthetic, you feel nothing, not a damn thing, okay. Analgesic, pain relief, anesthesia, removal, okay. And with that, I had to say to her, just because you don't feel it doesn't mean that the damage that is there in your spine has gone away. And it's a really crap thing to have to say. It's great to be able to help people, but there is a line that you do not cross on any level. She's still on her pain medication every day, managing it. I'll give her certain techniques to help take it down as well as her medication. But even with that, she's still in considerable amount of discomfort every day. But yeah, I mean, she loved it. She thought it was great, and I've done it with many other people. I think I've been doing this 12 years. But the certain lines you don't cross. You never ever, sit there willy-nilly just because you've got a process that you can use with somebody. Just remove any form of pain at all without any of the consultation. Have they been to a GP? Has everything else been ruled out? Are you doing it in conjunction with a GP or somebody from the hospital? Because one thing I never, ever take away is a headache. Ever. I refuse to.
Be investigated.
I've had people ask me to remove recurring headaches that they were getting. I've had people come to me asking to remove pain in their arm, pain in their chest, tightness in their chest. So, you know, I mean, hopefully people out there are going to get the gist when I say, no, absolutely not, go see your GP. Well, I've seen my GP.
Yeah,
Then go get yourself booked in somewhere else.
These interventions have to be a short-term thing based on
Absolutely
a history. You've got to be able to take a history from the patient, from the client.
It's, I mean, God, the amount of times I've broken my ribs over the years, and I've gotten to the point now where I know if I've done it, one, because I've heard a crack.
Yeah.
And two, there's that initial, oh, Jesus, right, can't move. I do an internal assessment. Okay, is everything else okay? This has happened. Potential fracture, potential break. Up here, I then sit there and say to myself, right, it's okay, it will heal. My body then goes, oh, it's no longer a threat response, and the pain level drops.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where it's still there and it's manageable, but it will give me time to be able to go, right, I've got an A&E nurse friend round the corner. If needs be, I hobble round there. Can you give me a quick check over? After that, you know, it's fine. I'll take painkillers, do what I need if I absolutely need to, because I'm not big on kind of pain medication myself.
No. I agree.
But it is one of those things that I've seen online. Somebody has removed chest pain in somebody. Somebody has removed headaches, and they went and had a new.
These are all highly qualified individuals, of course.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I coach anybody, whether it's I don't coach hypnosis specifically.
No.
Because I'm along the lines of what we do is effective communication.
Yeah.
Okay. I can teach you hypnosis techniques, but without the underlying knowledge of how it works, why it works, and the person you're working with, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
I won't teach you pain control. I just won't do it, because there's a lot of people out there who will remove a headache, a chest pain, a pain in the arm. I've seen, there was one example of, for pure vanity, a woman had bought herself a new pair of shoes, and 2 days before she was due to go to a nightclub with some friends for a birthday party, she'd broken 2 of her toes. So she went to see a hypnotist. And she was like, well, I'm more kind of like pissed off. She says, I've been to the doctors, I've been to the hospital. Yeah, I've broken 2 of my toes. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, what can I do? Well, I tried to put my shoes on, and obviously it hurts because I've got 2, and they're brand new shoes. They cost me a fortune. And she paid the hypnotist, from memory, about £140 for 90 minutes to remove the pain so she could wear her shoes and go to a nightclub for a birthday party.
And thereby do further.
But it beggars belief.
You see, I mean, I agree with everything you've said about pain management. You have to take a full history. I have had actually very few people come to me asking to remove pain. The one that was the most significant was a friend of mine, his wife down in South Wales. She'd been suffering ongoing, she was told by the dentist who'd done a root canal, that she would continue to have trigeminal pain all of her life. So he'd effectively put a hypnotic command in. So she constantly suffered from this trigeminal nerve pain down her face.
Yeah.
So I had a look at her notes and had a chat with her in detail and said, what have they told you to do? They said, just learn to live with the pain. She said, but I can't manage it. And I asked her about what she did. I'm going to cut this short because you'll know the technique.
Yeah.
And it's not a technique as such, it's an idea, really. Like a lot of these things, I listened to what she was saying. And I said, during the time we've been talking, Lisa, have you noticed the pain? And she said, no. I said, no, because your attention was diverted elsewhere. I said, so has it come back now? She said, well, it's starting now. You're talking about it. I said, so how often do you have that happening during the course of a day? For example, is the pain so bad that you can't go to work? She goes, oh, no, I can do my job. She said, in fact, when I'm doing my job, I don't notice it. I said, so you've generalized the pain along with the help of the dentist. She said, I don't understand. I said, you told me you're in pain all of the time, but you've just quite clearly said that whilst you were talking about going engaged in another act, you didn't notice the pain. And she went, oh, right, yeah. I says, if you can do that now, you can do that anytime you want. So cut a long story short, I taught her a simple way of reliving that moment so she could stay focused on the task at hand and thereby not suffer from the pain. But very occasionally, she said it would pop up again. I said, oh, that's just your brain reminding you that there's something there. That's not right. That's all it is. On another note, and you may have done it, well, obviously I have done it because you were talking about kidney stones. I remember one time, and I use this as an example when I'm teaching hypnosis and NLP, how powerful commands are to the unconscious. And it doesn't have to be any special technique. You know, you just got to convince yourself that this is true, that this is going to work. And I remember driving up to Aberdeen to do a whole weekend of seminars. And on the way up there, I started getting toothache. And I knew this tooth needed sorting out, but I'd left it, as you do. So on the way up there, and it's an 8-hour drive to Aberdeen, I convinced my unconscious that it would be fine during the whole course of the weekend. And I promised my unconscious that Monday morning when I woke up, it would re-alert me to the pain so I could go to the dentist and get it sorted. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I know you're nodding and laughing because you know these things work, you know, because it's easy to convince people, others, and ourselves if we know what we're doing.
I mean, I had it the other day. I mean, I think I've got one remaining kidney stone, and it's always the way, just the bloody one.
Somebody who can destroy that NLP intervention techniques. I know just the man. I'm not going to say his name because it may cause problems. And he can get rid of COVID as well.
You really need
Tell me about
here's an intervention for you, mate. Slap yourself repeatedly until that thought goes away.
That is one of the best interventions.
It's no, I was on a walk with Shadow a couple of weeks ago, and it was like walking out of the house, and there's a bit of a niggle. And for me, my go-to is usually music. It always has been, even from a kid.
Right.
Put the music on. Nothing. Put a podcast on. Nothing. It's getting worse and worse. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking, crap. Now I'm 2 miles away from home. All right. Okay. And I sat there and just thought, do you know what? I'll just play around with some NLP. And all I've done the usual. Right. Does it have a color? Yeah, of course it's got a color. Is it moving? Well, of course it's moving. If it wasn't, I wouldn't notice it. Right. Every step that I take, that's just going to filter through out the bottom of my feet into the pavement. Keep walking. Obviously, had to imagine that whatever I'd left on the pavement has bloody dissipated, because obviously I don't want to walk through it again. And I come back up like, right,
leave it for someone else.
Yeah, you have it. It's fine. And within, I don't know, not even 5 minutes, I'd noticed that my shoulders were back up, my head was up, breathing was. Oh, bugger me, that's great. I know it's an imagined technique. I know that but rather than latch onto something and sit there and go, oh, I've got another 2 or 3 miles of this is going to be hell. I know by the time I walk back in the house, I will be in extreme agony. And a lot of it is down to the perception, because there's something that's, you know, it's gone around, and a lot of people disagree with it, where they sit there and they say, well, yeah, but all pain is psychosomatic. Now, a lot of people take that as in, you're telling me I'm making it up. Well, I'm imagining it. No, psycho as in thought, somatic as in feeling. You are literally imagining the feeling. You have it there. So if you can do that, you can then change your perception of it. You can turn it down. You can turn it up. You can put it in somebody else. Not saying you should, but it's doable, apparently.
And it's fun.
I wouldn't know, because I
Oh, have you not? I did it on an LP course, but that's another story.
You know, but I mean, that's why we've got to be really kind of careful, because all the claims that are being made out there at the minute, there's somebody claiming that they've used certain techniques to heal cancer.
Yeah.
And then you ask them for proof or documentation, because clearly they would have worked with medical professionals. Yeah. It's never forthcoming. You obviously can't use the words.
It's no better than faith healing, essentially. Yeah. That's all it is.
I mean, if you go and look up the bloody Cancer Act, you are legally not allowed to make claims of that sort saying you have healed, cured, or any other terminology from the medical profession regarding serious illnesses or diseases, especially cancer.
Yeah.
And these clowns go around and do it left, right, and centre. But they then pump out courses on TV, and it's nothing more than to fill their wallet. You've got to be extremely careful in the fact that just because we can help somebody remove a level of discomfort or chronic pain, we can have them have it go for an hour or a month. If you can do a month, you can do 6 months. If you do 6 months, you can do a year. As long as they see it working and believe in it, they can have it completely gone. But their issue, their physical issue, will not have changed.
No, the underlying pathology, the underlying physical thing will still be there.
I could at least,
you know, I know. Yeah, sorry, Craig.
I was going to say I could anesthetize a boxer, you know, for when he's punching his opponents or he's training in the gym with a heavy sandbag.
Yeah,
I could make it so that, you know, every time he hits the bag, he feels more and more comfortable. It is a reckless and irresponsible thing to do because he'll break his tarsals, his metatarsals, fingers, knuckles, all the rest of it, but he won't feel it, and he will keep hitting. You know, he will think it's perfectly normal until, of course, that fight is over, that session is over, the training's over, in which case he's now in a cast and potentially having reconstructive surgery. Yeah,
but you also, I've had quite a few guys who've broken joints and had frozen shoulders because of injuries and through Muay Thai and martial arts essentially. And in fact, one guy was a rock climbing injury, he fell and he ended up with a frozen shoulder. Now, it had been 2 years and he still had this inability to move his shoulder, and that had become a mental block, purely a mental block, because his physio said, there's no reason why you can't move your arm now. There's no physical reason. Everything's repaired. It's healed well. The scar tissue was minimal. And it had become a psychological block. And people commonly call that like a frozen shoulder sometimes. There are other types of frozen shoulders, such as impingement. But and I worked with him. You're talking about using the imagination. He'd been to see a hypnotist, and the guy couldn't do anything for him. He still charged him, I believe. And I said, look, I'm not convinced that there's anything actually wrong with your shoulder. Your physio said this. If everything you've said is true about what your physio said and what your orthopedic surgeon has said, then this should be able to move. And they're stumped. And I said, it's a block. I said, and all I did, using imagination again, isn't it, Craig? It's about what we think we can make real to a certain extent, or our perception of it will be that it'll have an effect. And all I did was got him to sit with his eyes closed and imagine him moving his arm through an arc. I said, you don't want to actually do it. Just imagine it's up. Imagine it's laterally moving. It's abducting, adducting. It's flexing and extending. It's internally, externally rotating. And we went through this whole procedure. And then I said, okay, lift your arm up. So, and he got it up here. And he was like, I said, wow. I said, so what's happened there? He said, I've no idea. He said, but I don't really want to take it any further than that. I said, okay. So we had a cup of tea. We had a bit of a pattern interrupters. You know what that means. And we chatted about other stuff. And I said, let's get the arm back up where you had it. You had it up here before like this. And he just mimicked me like this. He went, oh, he said, but it feels really weak. I said, well, why does it feel weak? Because you haven't been using it. And sometimes when you've got cases like that, where you do have a purely psychological block, which is quite common with muscular things, because the brain says protect it, and it learns that pattern. It's useful to be able to get it through that barrier, if you like. But definitely things. I mean, this trend at the moment for NLP people and the hypnotists, it's mostly the NLP community, sadly, that seem to be involved in it. This let's get rid of COVID. You know, I mean,
filters.
Oh, seriously dangerous. And of course, the people who will latch onto these are very needy people, and this is what these types of coaches are feeding into, this need, like you know, like spiritualists, you know, using their, oh, I'm going to contact your old granddad, and just leeching money and
a lot of them are feeding off. And I put up a video on Facebook the other night, and I used to do lives kind of quite often.
Yeah.
And I've seen all this going around, and the kind of straw that broke the camel's back was these people making these claims that an NLP filter can stop you getting COVID. So you don't need to social distance, you don't need to wash your hands, you don't need to wear a mask, you don't need to isolate you, right? They're going against everything that the WHO, the NHS, and the medical profession have stated you need to do, because an imaginary filter will protect you from getting not just COVID, but any virus. Okay. Now, I know that the people who see this, okay, are going to be the ones that potentially unfriended me on Facebook after I put up my little rant. Great. I hope you're doing well. But if you believe in that sort of stuff, yeah, you are batshit crazy, in the sense that if you are one of these trainers making these claims, you are, without a shadow of a doubt, endangering people's lives. Okay. And like I've said for years, I don't care who likes what I say, who hates what I say, who is indifferent. Having worked with so many clients over the years, ranging from everything from weight loss to PTSD to anxiety to panic attacks to you name it, I've had it come through the door at some point, or I've volunteered or consulted on it. Every goddamn thing that we do, whether it's from a holistic point of view, in the sense of hypnosis, NLP, you know, you can have your acupuncture thrown in there. Doesn't work for the reason people say it does. I can explain it to you if anybody contacts me. That's fine. You know, balancing your auras, your chakras, anything else, whatever it is you're helping people to do. Your primary goal, first and foremost, is your duty of care to that person. Okay, that is it. We are not medical professionals. We cannot make the claims. We cannot make statements about cures and all that sort of bullshit. But it doesn't mean we should take their health and safety any less seriously.
No.
And if you're just out there to do this because somebody said somewhere and you've personally tried it, I guarantee you, if you're one of those trainers who goes out and does it, I ask you one question, and it puts the wind up every single one of them. If you are so confident in that belief, okay, that you are willing to teach it to, God knows, whoever, there might be somebody who's just coming into the profession. Maybe they know no better. Okay, hopefully they will after. Will you use it around your kids, your wife, your mother-in-law? Potentially some will, some won't on that one. I'm not getting into that. Personally, I love my mother-in-law. She's awesome. You know, and your immediate relatives. Will you be so secure in that belief that you are willing to endanger their life? And if you are, there's more shit going wrong out there than there is with COVID.
Oh yeah. I mean, these claims have been around for quite a while, but it seems now with the prevalence of social media and that, it's so much easier just to get it out there, and people will believe anything, as we've seen. I mean, the amount of, and I'm talking conspiracy theories. I mean, people just want to believe shit, basically. Yeah. And once they have a belief in place, it's very difficult to shift it, you know.
It latches onto a lot of people with, obviously, and quite rightly so. I never go around to anybody saying, well, do you know what? We're going to remove everybody's anxiety, because it's a normal process for everybody. It's just not normal when it's firing at 100% all the time. Okay, you can learn to deal with it. Okay, that's fine. But these people are preying on people who are anxious at this moment in time, wanting to be protected, wanting to be safe, wanting to protect their loved ones. That I completely agree. I don't want my loved ones to get sick.
Yeah, this happens in the martial arts, doesn't it? There's people making claims that their system is going to work against everything and anything. And you see them every year. And it's no different, is it? It's no different. And people will latch onto that belief system. And despite sometimes the belief is so strong that even when you demonstrate that these things don't work, they'll still hang on to it. But that's the nature of belief, isn't it? Which is, I mean, you know me, and I'm always going on about how dangerous beliefs are. Presuppositions are handy. Beliefs should be held very lightly. because they're going to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, you know, I've had a presupposition, which you know about, which is there is no failure, there's just feedback. And that allows me to deal with things when they don't work out the way you want them to. You don't beat yourself up. You go, oh, it didn't work, I'll do something else. Now, we do that all the time with clients, Craig.
I think that's one of the kind of best things. I mean, even though anybody that I coach, I sit there and there is not a single pinpointable part of the brain that is the subconscious, right? It is a non-conscious response. It is out of your awareness until you bring your attention to it. Okay. And a lot of people say, but I just talk to the subconscious and it does this. No, it doesn't, because your client is sat there. If you tell your client to sit in a chair and do absolute bugger all, right, and you just talk to them, you're having a chat. Okay. If this worked the way everybody says it does, right? Everybody who had tea and biscuits with their grandfather, grandmother, anybody else, sit down, son, let's have a chat, right? You'd all walk away and everything would be 1,000 times better permanently. It works in that moment because you're engaged. Until you walk off and your brain goes, yeah, but what if she was wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. It's back again. You know? And that's part of the issue, because there's no one thing that you speak to. There's no one specific way to do something. We have a given way of functioning. And I get it all the time from people when they sit there and say, everything you put on Facebook or social media, it's never, I'm going to try this next week, or I'm going to try that. Right, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do. I don't give a shit if I failed. I don't care if I get it wrong, but I'm not going to restrict myself based on well, if I don't do it as well as so-and-so or as well as I think, but I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
99% of what I do is that the only reason I've been on courses or trained with yourself, as you know, is because I've done a hell of a lot of work behind the scenes to be able to go, right, let's do it. Oh, made a mistake on that. Let's see.
Yeah.
But I haven't had it shoved into me at a level where I only believe one person.
This is part of the problem, because people think that you can do a 7-day course and now you're a practitioner and can cure virtually everything. But very few of those people, if I think back to when I started, or even practicing now, because they suddenly realize, the honest ones, if they're honest with themselves, they suddenly realize that, hang on a minute, I've done my prac course, I've done my master prac course, I'm a trainer, I've only seen 4 clients. What? I remember the first thing, I took the advice of Richard Bandler, and he said to the group, he said, what you do now, he said, I've just given you the ability to drive the car, you've passed your test. You haven't learned to drive the car yet. You've just taken your L plates off. You become and his words were, become a hypnosis shark. Because he said all communication is hypnosis. And he said, so you become a hypnosis shark, go out and just use it all the time. He said, don't make any massive claims, just have that attitude of like, somebody says something to you, you think you can give them a bit of a tweak, see what happens. And I remember setting up a little practice in Birmingham. I was lucky because I had my own gym, so I had lots of students that I could play around with, and I would tell them what I was doing. So from an ethical and a moral standpoint, I was doing the right thing, I felt, and I was getting successes and failures, success, and so it goes on. And then after about 2 years, I think, of seeing clients, I did the master practice, or maybe even been 3 years. And I was seeing people who were trainers now, who didn't have a clue what they were doing. But they had, Craig, and the reason I'm talking about this is because they've got this box of this ball of techniques, and they'd go, oh, I've got this client coming and I'll use that one. And then the client would come in and do something slightly different that tool wasn't designed for, but they didn't have the ability to go, hang on a minute, if I put this tool with that tool, or maybe, whoa, even come up with one of my own, you know, and sadly, what's being taught, it seems, I might be wrong, but it seems that people are just being said, right, you do this technique and this will work, guaranteed. That's the impression I get.
I see it all the time. And anybody who listens to this, watches it, go on Groupon. Go onto these online coupon places. You can pick up an NLP course or a hypnosis course for 10 quid.
Yeah, somebody was, I think it was you were telling me this, 10 quid.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
What?
And you look it up, and I know, unfortunately, I know of people who have gone and got this qualification. And basically, you fed a load of PDFs and information and videos, MP3s, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you go through it, and at the end, you're basically sent a questionnaire, and it's multiple choice. Right? And you go through.
You're never going to see a client, are you?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And you tick your boxes, and as long as you get over a certain percentage, lo and behold, you get a certificate through the post. Congratulations, you're an NLP practitioner, you're a hypnosis practitioner, you're whatever. And the stupid thing is, they've never been face to face with a client. They've never sat in with anybody. They've never had to work on anything. They've got a set number of techniques. And the amount of people I have asking me, why didn't the fast phobia cure work? My reply every time with that information is because it wasn't a phobia.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yes, it was, because let me guess, the client told you it was a phobia. Yeah. Did you ask them? Well, no, they told me. Right. Okay. So have they ever experienced, the spider running at them like they imagine, and it's like you're 20 foot tall with giant fangs, and for anybody out there who is afraid of spiders, it's not really 20 foot tall. Okay, it's about this big. Just imagine it, right, with a kiss me quick hat, pink wellies, and it's on its way home to see the wife because it's potentially late and it's been pissed up in the pub. Right? And they've turned around and says, well, they've never experienced that one given stimulus. No. And I bet they had it. Yeah, but what if it does? That's anticipatory. They've got no base model to work off. And a lot of these people are out there with these certificates. They're reading to clients. They've got a given technique. And the ones that, and Andrew Austin has a great video on his YouTube channel. And to cut a long story short, it's basically, if you are on an online platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever the hell you post it, or a forum, and you are asking what to do with a client because they're coming in to see you, you are not, in his word, a fucking therapist.
Good lad.
Because you should not. Yeah, it's, to be fair, it's all over the place, and you've only got to trawl through forums to see, I've got a client coming in this evening, they've got X, what do I do? What's the best script for this? What's the best technique for that?
I've had it from students saying, I've done the NLP course, but I've got a client coming in. You've seen loads of people. What do I do? And I say, well, I don't know because I've not met the client.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they've got this. I said, how do you know they've got that?
Yeah.
They told me. I went, you need to have a conversation. Did you have a chat with them on the phone? Yeah, they've told me I suffer from panic attacks on a regular basis. I went, so there's no fixed technique. You do know that. You need to speak to the client, listen to what they're saying, and pick out what it is that sparks your attention. But that comes from experience.
I think that's one of the key things that I have other therapists consult me as well, or collaborate, or ask to break down their protocols or whatever they're putting out.
Yeah.
And they might give me 4 paragraphs of information for a client, and 3 words will stand out. The rest of it is just, why are you waffling so much? Yeah. Because it's just those 3 words.
Yeah, I've seen, back in the day, I used to see clients for Worcestershire Health Authority, and they were psychiatric clients, and they used to always, the psychiatrist or the psychotherapist would say, oh, I've got their notes, and it'd be like this, like a file full of notes, and I'd like, right, I'm not interested in that, because that's somebody's assumptions that were made. Obviously they didn't work because he's still seeing somebody. So I always started, and I've said this to all of my students who trained with me over the years, I've said, speak to the client, listen, actively listen with your eyes and your ears. You need information. You'll hear patterns in their speech that, I mean, the simple stuff, what I'm talking about, generalization, deletions, distortions, we all do it. And we need to, and this is the key thing I think people forget. They go on these NLP courses and come back with a batch of techniques, but they forget that it's about communication. You said it right at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's about communication with yourself and with others.
Yeah.
And your job is to be a communications expert and pick away at what's going on and ask sometimes uncomfortable questions, you know, or bizarre questions. Like the client who said to me, I'm, you know, I really feel depressed. And I said, where is that?
Yeah.
And he, what do you mean? No, I feel depressed. I said, where is it?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't understand. I said, when you think of the time when you were depressed, i.e. now, although that doesn't appear so, because you seem quite engaged with me, I said, go back to this morning when you said you felt depressed. They go, oh, and that's when they start to look at the actual subjective nature of their thoughts, because thoughts are not real. This is what I try to get through to people. Thoughts are not real. They're just there. And what we do with them affects our perception, as you were saying earlier on, of the world around us. And
that's why,
you know,
sorry, mate. It's one of those things that, I see a lot of people trying to work with PTSD, and people are saying there's no D in PTSD. Well, there fucking well is, because it's a disorder of their thinking. I just, and with anything,
I'm not. Is that that passed me by?
Oh, mate, it's
PTSD because they don't want to say it's a disorder. Is that right?
Yeah, post-traumatic stress. Yeah, because it's not a disorder. And
so they're functioning with order then in their lives.
Right. Exactly my point. It was a case of that one word. You know, if you have disordered thinking, everything else goes to shit. Okay, if you've got ordered thinking, I mean, that's why I love working with kind of like PTSD as well. Armed forces, I've done a load of work with them. And it's great for me to just be able to give back, you know. And with that, I always say to them, I never, ever say to somebody with PTSD, right, the following, okay, I understand where you're coming from.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
right? A lot of therapists do that. If there is anybody out there who is going to see anybody with PTSD, never say that to them, ever. Right? I understand where you're coming from. I know what you mean. Okay. Don't sit there patting them on the shoulder, going, "Well, it's going to be okay." Right? Don't touch them. Okay. At any point. Okay. One thing I do say to them is, and people could take this if they want, I can't understand, you know, what's happened to you. I'm not even going to try to understand it, because I haven't been there. I haven't experienced it. I have no real world experience. I have no right to say that to anybody. But what I do understand is the structure of what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So when you're going through your day, you will have this, and this happen. This will trigger this, and this. Holy crap. Yeah. Okay. If you think of it like the hands of a clock that go from 12 to 12, it goes round twice a day. There's your 24 hours. And they always sit there and say, oh, yeah. Okay, so you've gone from 12 and you've gone round and you've got to 11. And all of a sudden the hands have gone all the way back to 12 and you've never completed. And they sit there and go, yes, it's like I've been completely thrown back. And yeah, you're essentially in Groundhog Day. Now, if we can take this and we can move it on to the point you're through the episode, not saying you have to relive it. You don't. Never get somebody to relive the shit. There's no need. Okay. And you get them to a point where they realize that it's over and they can close that loop finally with anything else that's thrown in. Because you won't just sit there and go, here's a technique. You just won't. It won't happen. You see them sit there and go, oh, fucking hell, that was weird. Yeah. Why would you have them relive the same shit to go through therapy when they do a good enough job reliving that shit 10,000 times a day themselves?
Yeah. The thing is, when you take somebody through that process of reliving, i.e. recounting the experience in all of its majestic glory, all you're doing is simply just reinforcing the pattern. Yeah. You know, the brain is very, you know this, the brain is very good at learning things, at learning things. And, you know, particularly things that are problematic. We tend to focus on those things a lot because it's the way I guess a lot of people are conditioned.
The amount of myths and stuff that
this is what amazed me about NLP when I first came across it was you didn't talk about the experience per se. You looked at the subjective nature of it, what it was made up of from a sensory point of view. And the beautiful thing was, one of my first clients was a man who didn't want to talk about his problem, but he needed to deal with it. And I said, we don't even have to discuss it. It wasn't until a couple of sessions after he actually did tell me what had happened. And I was gobsmacked when he told me. In fact, I had a client just recently, a friend of mine just recently, I'd taken him through a couple of online interventions. And I don't do a lot of it now, but when it's a friend or somebody who really needs it, then I'll step up. I think, well, I've got the technique, I've got the tools, I've got an opportunity. And I was absolutely gobsmacked, because he never had to relive the experience, because we looked at it from sensory point of view. The way it was, the way he ordered time, actually. It was actually about time. It was the way he ordered time in his head. And we worked it out anyway. And he turned around and he said, yeah, I never told you what it was. And I said, well, you don't have to, because it's sorted. He went, no. He said, I can now. He said, because actually, and he was trying to, you could see him trying to find it. You know, when clients do this, they go, well, I remember having an experience, and they're looking around.
I love, it's probably going to sound wrong to the people kind of listening or watching, but I love playing around with clients' perceptions of things. Because I've literally had them come to me and they've went, yeah, but it feels, it just fucking feels. And I'm kind of going, do that again. And they're like, yeah, but it's like this big. And I'm stood there going, fucking hell, okay. Oh, tell you what, that's a bit big for me. What if I just do this? And they go, hell, what the hell? Right, where would you like it? And I start doing this with them. And they're just kind of like, fucking stop it. And it's like, well, if you want it back again, just, and they're just kind of like, and they're like, well, it can't, the thing I try and get through, it's a technique. It's playing around. But to them, it is completely tangible. If it is there and they are trying to grab hold of it, there's no reason you can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Step into their world and help. Just don't stay there. You know, and if you're coming across these myths, you know, talk to the subconscious, it does everything. There's NLP filters for COVID and diseases, and curing cancer, healing cancer, you know, aligning your chakras, you know, unblocking your meridians. I mean, the list is...
These are all just, you know, these chakras, and they're just metaphors, you know, and people need to realize that. They're not real. They're useful metaphors, if you believe that shit, you know.
The great thing is I say to anybody that I coach, if a guy comes into me and he's wearing a tie-dye T-shirt, no offense to anybody who is, you know, a bandana, sandals, crystal round is kind of like, you know, and bloody prayer beads.
I don't sit there and go, 14. That was me when I was 14. What are you on about?
I was you at the weekend.
It was the 60s, man, you know.
But if, you know, if I'm talking to these, I don't instantly go, oh, I need to get his subconscious to, okay, right, let's have a chat. There's a brew, there's a drink, whatever you want. What's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. There was somebody that I knew, you know, it was a mentor of mine, and he had the same client over and over to stop smoking cessation. Nothing worked. I said to him, I said, well, what are you doing? He says, well, it's a subconscious process. Okay, fine. He says, I talked to the subconscious, and I got his subconscious to agree to let it go because it's a bad habit. And I went, says, well, tell me about the bloke. I says, not me, tell me about. And he went, well, he's kind of like Native American Indian. Oh, right, okay. I says, that's interesting. So when you talk to his subconscious, what does that represent to him? And he went, what's that got to do with anything? How does he see it? How does he manifest it? How does he imagine it? What is? And he says, I asked him in the next, and he come back to me, he says, well, I asked him in the next session. He says, work like a fucking charm. He says, why? He says, well, I keep saying to you, I'm talking to your subconscious now. Lift a finger, idiomotor movement, whatever he's doing. And he says, I'm getting this kind of on his face. Oh, yeah. He says, hold on. He says, what does your subconscious mean to you? Who am I talking to? And he went, well, in our culture, he says, we believe in it being kind of like our ancestors. He says the elders, the older ones, the shamans, this sort of stuff. Oh, bugger me if he wasn't talking to the wrong version of the subconscious. And as soon as he told him that, he says, right, he says, and that has a powerful meaning to you. That's what guides your life. He says, yeah, he says, then let's work with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instant result.
It's, you know, it goes back to the basics, doesn't it? Korzybski said it, the map is not the territory. And our job, and it seems to be lost now on modern NLP trainers. The fundamentals are really key here. You know, understand language, understand that the map is not the territory. You were saying it earlier on. I can't understand how a patient feels. That's impossible. Do you know, we use that in communication. When I'm teaching medics, when I work with medics, as you know, I work with medical students. It's one of the first mistakes they make. To show empathy to a patient, they'll often say, oh, I understand how you feel. And we stop them immediately. Use words like, I could only imagine what the time you must have had. I can only imagine. Or, you know, I don't know how that must feel. So please, let's work through this together and tell me how you feel, how you do this, you know?
I think there's one, when you look at them butting heads all the time, and you change the linguistics of it, you change the phrasing of it, and I've got somebody there, and they're a bit kind of closed off, they're a bit, because obviously not everybody wants to say everything. And I sit there and I say something along the lines of, it seems like this has been bothering you for a long time. They sit around and they go, yeah. They don't just go, oh, piss off. Oh, yeah, it has. And to be quite honest, it's been kind of worrying me, and I'm getting anxious over this, and I'm getting anxious over that. And then that led to this, and this. And I do a form of mirroring, but it's not NLP mirroring. So I'm not, you know, and I'll say, if their last 3 words is, yeah, it really bothers me. All I come out with, it really bothers you. And all of a sudden, I just go silent. I think, well, yeah, because, you know, I'm having a kick in at this time and that. And they give me so much information because I'm not basically sat there saying, I completely know how you feel. They don't want you to kind of empathize. Some do.
Yeah, but I think
the vast majority are just...
People mix up sympathy and empathy. Empathy is about building rapport through listening, actively listening to the patient, the client, whatever you want to call them. So when I'm working with medical students, obviously I'm going to employ the communication techniques I've learned from the past, because the current techniques they use within medical schools are pretty old school, pretty out of date. They've got some value, but they haven't really got into the linguistic aspects because they're too busy teaching these students how to heal people, you know. But what I say is, what's the first step in healing someone? Building rapport. If you trust the doctor, and we know this to be partially true, when you have trust in someone, things all seem to fall into place, no matter what you know, when I'm working with a client, the first thing I want to do is get their trust, because I can virtually tell them to do anything they wanted, you know, that they need.
I mean, think of it this way. If people don't think that this is actually true, what kind of Bob's saying is, like, think about it. If you've got to go for a surgery, no matter how minor, and you see the surgeon walks in and he comes in, it's like, yeah, hi, how you doing? Oh, okay, right, that's another one. All right, I'll see you in a bit. You're going to look and go, fucking hell, okay, he hardly said hello. If he comes in, has a laugh and a joke, and he's like, hello, Mrs. Smith. How are you today? Right, yeah. Oh, I see we're doing one of these today. That'll be fun. And you kind of look and go, was that kind of joke? It's okay, I've done thousands of these and I've only lost... Well, you don't need to know, but you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine, because no, trust me. And they go through and they tell you all the stuff that they've done, that they're in, you know, the patient's in good hands. You know, it's a relatively easy procedure. Once they get through the procedure, they're potentially going to be as good as new. Post-op pain is going to dissipate within 2 or 3 days, a week, maybe, if that's what it actually takes. The inflammation's going to go down. The swelling's going to go down. You're going to feel better than you did, right? The patient instantly goes, fucking hell, I like him. Great. No worries going into the operation.
That's it.
They come through it. They come out the other side. The doctor again checks in. Everything went absolutely beautifully. Any questions, feel free to let me know. I'm always on hand. Not an issue. You also find that those people who have that sort of doctor and have that sort of communication heal a lot quicker. Their post-op recovery time actually goes down rather than up, with less post-op pain and complications as well.
And these, I mean, these are presuppositions as a patient, a anaesthetist, a nurse can put in the patient. You know, I've heard some really good nurses talking to patients at the orthopedic hospital, and they'll say things like, oh, you're having an operation with Mr. Davis. He's fantastic. What a lovely man. He's one of the best. And you can see them sort of relaxing and going, oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever had them, but you've also got patients or clients who come to you for like the pain we were describing earlier. There's no physical reason. So essentially they've got a functional block.
Yeah.
But when you actually talk to them and you break it down, right, not talking to the subconscious, but in general.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, oh yeah, well, I remember my surgeon saying, yeah, in 2 or 3 of the cases that I've had, you know, the pain lasted a lot longer. You shouldn't be one of those, but I just have to make you aware. 2 out of 3. Hold on, I don't like those odds. I bet I'm going to be one of them. You know, lo and behold, it's your job to go in and help them kind of go. So you've been checked afterwards. Yeah, you've seen a GP. Yeah, you've seen a specialist. Yeah, anything physically wrong? No. Okay, so would you like that to move again? Would you like to have this, this, and this? And I've resorted to saying to a lot of clients, if I could wave a magic wand today, and you could do something magical, what would it be? And they go, well, I just fucking, 9 times out of 10, they go, I just want it fucking gone. So you just want it gone. Where do you want it gone to? Where should we put it? What do you want to replace it with? What would you like to do instead? And all of a sudden you see them go, holy shit, I now have options.
Because before they had no choice. They just had to suffer the pain. Yeah.
A great therapist called Barry Thames says, treat the person, not the problem.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's a maxim that I believe the medics use as well. You know, I've heard surgeons and doctors and lecturers at the university say that you treat the person here. And it's one of the things we have to reiterate to medical students, you know, along the line, which is don't forget there's a human being at the other end. When you're having a conversation, imagine it's your mother, your friend, your girlfriend. It's somebody close to you. How would you talk to them? What do you want for them? You know, and
in that case, Bob, sod off and make me a cup of tea and grab me a sandwich.
So we're going to have to finish there, Craig.
No worries, mate.
I think we can pick this up again and do another one in the next
one
and talk about.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's go. I've got the ceiling.
I just vanished.
You're back.
No, yeah, that's fine.
But that stand managed to last right till the end. So I'm going to say ta-ra, right? And we're going to pick up on, I think, we'll talk more about the subconscious because I've got a couple of interesting things to put by you. And I want to get your take on it as well. But thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, mate.
I look forward to catching up with you soon. And, of course, checking out your Facebook posts. Andy Austin's no longer going to be on Facebook.
I've seen, and
I like his reasons.
Yeah, I do.
It made me think. Actually, it made me think about my position on Facebook. It's an insidious thing, but we can talk about that off air.
No worries.
So, thanks again, Craig.
Not a problem.
Pleasure, mate.
Take care, Bob.